Hello, everybody. My name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indy Real Estate Market Weekly Podcast. Today, we have a special guest on our show, Brad Coffing, research and analyst with MIBOR, Justin Griffith with Keller Williams, Kyle Morris with FC.Tucker, and Shelly Walters with EXP. Hey, everybody. How's it going today, Shelly?
Everything's going wonderful. Thanks so much. We have some interesting stats this week. It's kind of slowing down a little bit.
I'm just excited it's Christmas time. We got to do Yuletide celebration on Sunday. It's like, we've been doing it for like 36 years, so like, that feels like Christmas time to us.
Not that
you know,
old.
I've been going, 36 years every single year. Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Justin?
Did a little candlelight concert downtown, and then went to the Big Ten championship.
Wow. That
Nice
sounds
weekend. Yeah.
Go Blue.
Yeah.
Go
yeah.
Blue.
It was just, yeah.
fun. And Brad, what'd you do this past weekend? Anything fun?
I have two small kids, so
That's a no.
We know what you did. What's their ages?
I have a daughter who just turned 5 and a son who's coming up on 1.
Yeah, you're a busy man. You're
So
Probably tired.
a lot of sleep.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's kick off the show today. The market is changing drastically. We're into a drastic change right now. It's not all bad when I say drastic. I think the smarter we are, as in real estate agents, of keeping with the market, knowing what's going on in the market, along with what buyers and sellers are needing and wanting. Everybody wants a low-rate mortgage right now. They're not going to get one, but the rates aren't so bad right now. They're just not. But that's just the real world right here. And we'll talk about mortgage rates later on in the show. But Shelly, let's kick it off with you. Let's get to the Carmel data, and then we're going to talk a little bit about data with you and Brad, and everybody's going to kind of jump in. So lead it off here for us.
Okay, so in Carmel, very slow week. Last 7 days, only 18 houses hit the market, and one of those pended. Currently have 146 on the market at anywhere from between 190,000 to 5.9. In the past 30 days, 105 houses have sold. Average days on market was 18, so still really good days on market. List to sale ratio still 99%, so still good. Just really slow the past week, and I think we're going to see this, as we get towards the end of the year. Holidays getting crazy. Westfield, 8 houses hit the market. None of those pended. Currently 196 on the market, anywhere from 249,000 to 3.2 million. Past 30 days, 107 homes have sold. The list to sale ratio for Westfield was also 99%. So 30 days on market, 99%. Still a great market there. Yeah. Zionsville, 4 houses hit the market. 0 of those pended. There's currently 38 on the market, anywhere from 300 to 7.5 million in Zionsville. In the past 30 days, 34 homes sold, 17 days on the market with a 99% list to sale ratio. All great numbers.
Yes.
That's good.
Though, if you think about it real quick, so we talked about like population 2 weeks ago. So Westfield has the highest actually active on the market by 50. So pretty like 30% more. And they're only half the size of Carmel, right? So they have a lot on the market for the size of that area.
Yes.
Inventory's high there, if you want to say that word.
Yep.
Well, I mean, in a way it is, and it depends on how you look at it.
We also get back to the fact that how many are over $1 million there. So the price point's a little high for some people. So the actual price points where most people want to be, maybe not as many on the market. But
Well, the $1 million house today, I've talked with another couple agents, and I've talked with you guys. It's kind of like the $500,000, the $600,000 home, like it was
A decade ago?
Yeah, well, almost a decade ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like the new. I hate to say this, but you get to 800,000, you get to million. There's $400,000 and $500,000 homes all around Indianapolis and all around Hamilton County. So it is the
and that's the new build area as well.
Yep.
Lots
Exactly.
of new builds there, and
Chatham, Serenade, Ben Oak, you got a lot. Ben
Yep.
Creek.
right. Okay, let's go over your stats there. Kyle Morris, also known as AKA Big Daddy.
Only here, but I actually love it. So, so in Fishers, we had 22 go on the market, anywhere from 182 all the way up to 800,000. 14 of them are still active, so 8 of them pended. So low, right? But we also got to think, we had the kind of hangover from Thanksgiving going into last week. So like for me, so even though 8 is low as how many pended,
Sure.
it's 4 times what pended the week of Thanksgiving, right?
Exactly.
Also, rates went down quite a bit last week, too.
They did,
So I
they
think
did.
that helped people lock in.
I do too. Well, especially with the holidays coming up. Like I think the next 2-3 weeks is actually a really good time to be a
Taking
buyer.
some of the fear out of the market before the feds jump in and do it again because they're getting ready.
Yeah. But we got, so 26 actually pended last week. Current days on market is 30 days on market in Fishers. There's 158 actually on the market that are active. But I also looked at sold. So 4 actually closed last week. And we were talking about, it's just a super complex market right now. And you're in this weird pivot point of how many days on market you are before you're going to take a hit on the price, right? We sold a couple this weekend. The 4 in Fishers that sold, they were average days on market was 32 days on market. So, or 52, I apologize, 52 days on market. So really, really high. And at 52 days on market for the average, 10,000 under, 12,000 under, 5,000 under, and 1,000 over. So not the hit that you would think for 52 days on market, right? But even we were talking about before, you get offers or showings or whatever in the first couple days, but there's this weird pivot point like around 10 to 14 days where it's like, this may swing on us really, really quickly. Noblesville, it was pretty similar. There's 23 that actually went on the market last week. 16 are active. 7 of them pended. There's 26 total pended on the market, anywhere from 129 to 1.25 million. 34 days on market, 125 are actually active on the market. And so similar there, I looked at the close. Only 2 closed last week, probably because, you're closing right after Thanksgiving, right? But average days on market for the 2 that closed was 3 days. One sold at 32,000 over list and one sold at list. So it's just really, so you look at that difference, right? So 52 days on market, you're taking an average of about, I think between them, you're probably like 8,000 under list, something like that. 3 days on market, your average is, yeah. I mean, you're getting it really. So there's that swing in there. But I think the interesting thing about the swing is people think the swing is bigger than it really is. So, we may not get list because we're on the market 30, 40 days. It's not as much under list as you think, quite honestly.
That's what I just showed. Carmel, Westfield, and Zionsville, 99% listed.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yeah.
You better be right on your data because we got Brad over here.
Oh, I know.
Slap us around a little bit.
Well, so the other interesting piece is so we listed one last weekend and we sold it in like 3 days. And everybody's talking about prices and they're tanking. I priced this house back in beginning of August, right? When I priced it, it was $10,000 over what I priced it in August. So even with all these hits, like there's still appreciation going on because of the past 6 months, the past 2 years. So it's weird. It's like, okay, whether you got list or not, which we did, but at the same time, even with that, I was already $10,000 above where we originally anticipated where we were
months ago.
Yeah. So let's say you ended up selling it for a little bit less. It's still where it would have been in August, let alone last March.
So which
I'm
one
gonna
did
say
you just
real
finish up?
quick, That is one thing Brad and I talked about earlier. We are going to talk about and the average price increase over the past year.
Yeah.
What city did you just end up?
Noblesville.
Okay, let's go to what else you got?
I got Justin. That's what I got.
Let's go over to Justin now.
All right. I'll start in Broad Ripple. This week we had 2 new listings, which is a total of 18. None of those have pended yet. Priced anywhere from 129 to 1 million. We had 2 pending. Both of those averaged on the market 82 days. So again, the homes that are sitting, they're still moving right now. I really think it was the rates, and then also after
Holidays.
Thanksgiving, yeah. And then we had 2 closings. Average price 250 or 260. Average days on the market was only 9 on those. Meridian Kessler, we had 4 new listings for a total of 25, priced anywhere from 235 up to 1.5 million. We had 3 pending. 2 of those were new listings, and 1 had been on the market for 26 days. We had 3 closings, average sale price of $300,000, 7 days on the market. So Meridian Kessler is still killing it. Downtown, we had 12 new listings, 5 of which pended. There's 171 total, priced anywhere from 115 up to 2.09 million. And 5 pending, and we had 7 closings, average price of 422. Days on the market, 77.
Yeah, the city is getting some action, it seems like.
Absolutely. And by the way, of those closings, 76 of those are condos downtown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Been trending
not
that way.
Closings, but active. So.
Some of the best properties I've looked at in the past 6 months are condos downtown.
Yeah, we got to start doing maybe a little heavier research on that because you're in tune with the downtown market, and I think that could help us a little bit.
Absolutely.
Well, good. It looks like we got our weekly stats out here on the podcast. And now, Shelly, let's beat up on Brad a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, no, we're not beating up on
Bring
you,
it
Brad.
on.
We just want to know what's going on in the world of MIBOR. Go ahead, Shelly.
So thank you so much, Brad, to come and join us. We just thought you'd be a really good person to talk to since you are the stat guy for MIBOR.
This is really fun. This is really cool to be able to hear. As I said before, like I get to see really the macro, the big picture, but to be able to hear all those stats that you just went through, community by community, to really see the differences and to see what the market's doing, really actually informs what I do. So I think in a lot of ways that this should actually be kind of flipped. Like I should be asking you guys questions.
Well.
So this is really fun to be here. So thank you.
I mean, well, we're thankful that we can pull the data off of MIBOR so we can be accurate to the future buyers and sellers out there because, quite honestly, I'm going to say it. A lot of real estate agents don't do this homework that we do every week. I mean, we pull this stuff in the morning, so our stuff's not old. So we're grateful that you guys and your system has this information available for us.
It makes the industry better. I feel like, we want agents listening because it helps understand
everybody.
what's going on. Because the one thing I want the most is, I want our industry to be the best it can be. And at the same time, it's by removing the emotion and the uncertainty. And like, this is how we do it, right? So it's not just about knowing the numbers, it's knowing where they come from, what they actually mean. And you have the broader macro than we do. So we're really good about doing our little areas and we can understand and communicate to other agents. But on a whole, we still get asked what's going on with the market, right? And I can tell them. But like it's a little bit different because I could pull up the whole piece the way you do, but like you do this day in, day out.
No, you wouldn't be able to do it like you
No, because I just don't. I'm not in it like that, right?
It's a joke. I was pure boom.
Jokes
Anyway,
are funny,
Shelly,
but anyways.
Shelly, let's go over the questions for Brad that we've written out today.
Okay, so one of the things we just wanted to talk to you about is just watching how the market is changing over, let's start back with 2018-19. We all know what happened in the past 2 years. It's kind of crazy. Those are high numbers. And then how that's affecting us today, where we are. One of the first stats I just wanted to talk to you, you blast through some numbers at me about where we are in this October versus last October. So I think that's a good number to start with.
So I'm really glad that you brought up starting at 2018 because that's when I actually started on staff. And when I started, the median sales price was $189,000.
In all 16 counties, right? MIBOR covers 16
Right,
counties.
Yeah. So we cover from Boone, Hamilton, Madison to the north, all the way down to Jackson, Jennings.
What is it today?
South. So October was $280,000.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, and I can really remember when we cracked the 200K mark because I thought, wow, that's wild, right? And now I look back, I'm like, that's cute,
Exactly.
So,
Our numbers are cute.
and if you look back, 2018, 2019 were really, really good years in the industry. Sure. The market really performed well in terms of total sales, total volume. They were both really great years, all-time highs. 2020 was a especially odd year.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody
didn't
saw
build
that
that
coming.
into my mind.
No.
I didn't forecast.
Right,
that.
right.
Pandemic is a hard setting to
No
master.
one did. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. Does that? You know what I'm saying, Shelly? What's the next one?
Well, I just wanted for him to continue on is so that median price point, though, you just said for 2021 versus 2022 went just in October. So those, you said 280 was one number. So just explain that a little bit.
So that would be a 9.8% increase over last year. So we typically look at the year over years. The month to month is nice to kind of get a sense of where we think things are going, but the true change, you're looking at the year over year. We have seen since about July. July is really when we started to see the impact of the higher rates coming into the market. There's always a bit of a lag to when things get introduced and to when you actually see them show up in the data. A lot of other markets throughout the country have really seen, price actually drop, right? So you look at the Southwest, you look at crazy places like what happened with maybe Boise and Missoula, like those little towns that saw a mass exodus out of the Bay Area and just bought up a lot of we didn't really have that here. We had a lot of people move here in 21. We had a lot of coming in from Chicago and from the metros and kind of the Midwest. And I think a lot of that's kind of, it's still going on, not nearly at the rate that we're going. So I don't expect us to see the giant swings that a lot of the other places have kind of seen. But since July, the rate of appreciation. So again, this is still positive growth.
Sure.
We're seeing that slow a little bit, right? So from the kind of the wild times of being up 20%, now we're at like the 9.8. When we started the year, we thought, well, we might be seeing single-digit appreciation, which would still be fine, right? I mean, you're still looking at that. And so to be up still nearly 10% by the end of the year is still strong.
That's very positive in my world. I think that's a very positive number. And when we're hearing people say prices are going down, they're up 9.8% since October.
That should make a buyer feel a little bit more comfortable in our market today.
What's the
Or a
historic
seller.
number? Do you have that off the top of your head?
Historic number of appreciation.
Yeah. I'm just.
It
We've only been
varies
recording
wild.
it for
2.5%?
Yeah.
I mean, it varies
it's like 3.
wildly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was under 3. But, so you get a lot of phone calls in and out of your office of like what's going on with the data for people, the realtors, to understand. So they give accurate information out to everybody. What do you think that from what you guys get? I know you get different data, so you can put it in your system. I mean, what are you expecting for going forward between now and let's say this July? Are you seeing a little touch of a slowdown? Obviously,
Right.
Okay. I mean, are you thinking there's going to be a screeching halt? I don't see it.
So a lot of what we're going through now. So there's two things going on right now, right? One obviously is the rates, and that's really designed to do what it's doing, right? It's not accidental.
Yeah.
Right. It's not accidental. And I've got the rates up today, and we'll talk about those later. But 6.375. Now, wait a minute. You got to understand the rates that I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into it right now. But these are rates that if you're at a mortgage lender or a broker, not a bank. Banks are much, much higher. Yeah. But I understand what you're saying. Right. Historically, with the rates go up, it's going to hurt the
It's
people.
slowing it down.
It's slowing
it's
it
supposed
down.
to, right?
Right.
So the other thing that really changed between 20 and 21, and you saw it reintroduce towards the end of 21, but mostly 22, we have a very seasonal marketplace.
Sure.
You see the spring really kick up, the summer's really hot, you see the fall kind of begin to bump down a little bit.
Exactly.
Again, so we didn't really have that because in 2020, that spring bump didn't happen. Right, that was pushed back to August, September, October, November, 2021. It was all hands, right? It really didn't matter, right? So now we're seeing that natural seasonality come back in, but you're also seeing that now also with the rates. So you have kind of two things going on. So moving forward is a really tricky question. So I'm not a macroeconomist. I don't pretend to be one. Right. I didn't even sleep at a Holiday Inn last night. But so if we think that rates are going to be coming down, and that's the other thing too, is typically when you look at the average rate for the 30-year and then you look at the yield on the 10-year,
right?
They typically move together, right? And that spread has historically been what, 100.
You're talking about the 10-year fixed rate, or you're talking about the
10-year yield on the
yield?
Treasury.
Okay, yeah, exactly. I look at the 10-year 5-6 times a day.
Right? And that spread is usually about 170 basis points, right? And we've been sitting at about 270, 280, right? So there's a little bit of extra risk, uncertainty, I don't know what you want to call it, padded in, right?
Right.
You're starting to see that taper a little bit now. I think rates are starting to come back a little bit more towards normality.
Right.
But that being said, they are elevated a little bit higher than where they would probably normally be. But this isn't a very normal time still, right?
Right.
So as we get into Q1 of 23, do we see that begin to normalize a little bit? If that was the case, the rates would be sitting by 5.5%, right?
5.5, 5.875 all day. But that what you're talking about on those bonds and coupons, you got to be able to measure that out. What people don't understand, so they can sell that off the secondary market. And when they can't make that sell, it hurts sales. It hurts the top rate, which is the most popular, the 30-year fix. A lot of people don't understand. It's about bringing it to market.
Right.
Okay.
So do we get back to that by the end of Q1?
I just
maybe
don't.
not.
I don't see
maybe
how it can
mid-year
happen.
23, you start to see that.
That's what I've heard. Q3,
Back half of
Q4.
23,
Yeah.
certainly, if things all continue on the route that we're going. As we know, stuff happens. Stuff
Exactly.
changes, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. But back half of 23, you could definitely see that start to kind of normalize a bit.
Good.
more.
I think we got a good explanation on what we've asked. What's the next big one?
Well, I think I just want you to talk on what you think is most important that you're seeing in the market, that you're, most information is coming from you that I may not even know the answer or the question to ask.
So it's a really interesting time, and I think more than ever, this really drives to the value that you bring to clients, right? Because I learned something, and I was lucky to learn this early on. A very wise broker once said, Brad, behind every piece of data, there's an actual story there. Every sale has its own story. They're
Sure.
very, very different. You can't, there are no
Can't make it
the
up.
same. And as you look at the data, right? So closed sales do look bad when you look at them, right? They're down, right? And that is, the rates taking effect. It's doing what it's supposed to do by design, right? You're seeing the seasonality in the market. You're also seeing we're comparing against 2021, which is all-time high,
Yeah.
right? Which is a really tough one to compare to.
Yeah.
Even without the impact of the rates, I think any comparison to 2021 was going to be tough.
Right. Got to be comparing to 18 and 19.
Right. And so that was one of the things too that we really tried to do early on was, we said, well, let's just back out 2020 and 2021 and let's pretend like those didn't exist. And if we forecast off of all the previous years, how would that then look, right? And so I think what we're seeing is much more a reversion back to our natural trend.
And that's what Kyle says in many of our past shows. He says, and everybody else on the table said it too, but it sticks out in my mind, Kyle, we're getting back to a normal market.
Right.
We really are. And that's really a good thing.
Yeah. And I think though that's where talking to clients and explaining like we are really returning back to what a normal market should be and how it feels and how it looks. It's going to take a little bit more time to feel really comfortable with it, right?
Yep.
But hang in there. It's driving through that long tunnel. You see the light at the end. And I think we are going to get there. So one of the things is, you've not really seen prices drop, right? I mean, they've really held very, very steady. Appreciation's been strong, even when you go into the argument of real and nominal prices, right?
Right.
It's still positive. One of the things that has really been the story for a long time and continues to be the story is the inventory. You see a lot of screeching from a lot of places in the news talking about the inventory going up. We do see that here. We do see it going up, right? But it's off of rock bottom. We were sitting at, I think, October, we were sitting at 4,400 active at the end of the month. It's a point in time, right? But that's up from 2,700 homes.
Sure,
in the market.
sure.
I mean, that's there's.
But it's concerning too because I think it's going to continue to be a problem over the next 2 to 3 years because at the same time, because we're returning to normal, builders are trying to adjust to it, and they were doing so much, so they've drawn back a little bit here within the past month and a half. When really, it's a good time to actually speed it up.
Right.
But, you got to think about their profits, all of that stuff. Like there's a lot. I mean, this is complex. So when we talk about the
Carrying
market is
costs,
complex,
So we
there's
need
a
them
lot.
to build, but they got to hold it still.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
And it's funny you said that on the builders today because just today I follow Pulte in Florida heavily and Lennar. And I am telling you, there are $75,000 incentives on inventory homes all over the place on the west coast of Florida. Okay. And you're right on that, Kyle. I mean, it's spot on. But, how do these builders handle these numbers and get these homes sold?
I think what you just said.
That's the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you have carrying costs, you have salaries, you have.
Oh, you got all the
there's so
costs.
much that
Construction
goes into
loans.
it.
Yeah.
And then you take into account we thought there would be
The interest rate.
well a bigger exodus of boomers downsizing, which hasn't happened because they're smart. They've lived. They have a lot of wisdom, so they refied got a lower rate.
equity, yeah.
Like why I've got a lower rate. I've got a house. I'm going
Right.
to basically lateral over because of appreciation from when I bought this house 15, 20 years ago. And so we're just not seeing what was anticipated.
Yeah, I have more equity than I do on principal. You know, that's kind of like what you're talking
Yeah.
about right now. But I'll be damned if I'm going to take the equity because I'm not going to pay that price to get it.
Perfect example. Right.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that we're looking at and continue on until, who knows, next year sometime until
Right.
the rates maybe come to the point where they're more comfortable.
Well, the other challenging thing too on the inventory is new product coming onto the market.
Sure.
It's just, it's been really challenged. That part of it's been a little bit frozen. It's not a bad word to say. It's just,
No, it
tough.
is.
When you look at new listings in October of 2022, they were down 21%. I mean, it makes it really hard to figure out where the market is right now. And that's where the expertise that you all have of understanding kind of where the puck's going.
Now you're talking about new.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's funny you said that. I just talked to 3 different title companies. I'm not going to say their name. They're here locally in Carmel and the Indianapolis market. Some of them are down 50%. There's one down about 65%. So when you said down 20-some%, that's just on the new. Think about all the listings that we're not getting because what the interest rates are pushing out.
Well, and then
But that goes back to Kyle about a normal market. I mean, I want to ask this question. When you got in the business, what was the average days on market back then? How many years ago was that? 8?
No, 5.5.
5.5.
Honestly, when I was brand new, I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to check something like that. But I'm just be
That's
transparent
fine.
here.
But what was the days on market? 60, 70?
60. Yeah.
And
At
Shelly,
least, yeah. I mean, I remember carrying 180 days on the market.
Absolutely.
And that wouldn't be anything that I was afraid of. And you
6 months. Well, you just don't hear that anymore. And we're not in a primo market right now.
And that would be, price points 400 to 700 or whatever here in Carmel, which would be the market I was in.
Right.
That would be something that you set your expectations with your sellers when you sit down with them to understand where we are. And this is where we talk about, and Brad was starting to talk about. So Brad, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is really looking at, and as real estate agents, this is where the backbone of the real estate industry here is the realtors. What is the population of real estate agents that you see in MIBOR, and when, maybe starting back with where you started watching these numbers?
So one of the things that we look at is I do a count every month. So that's one thing that we do track. The numbers actually have held pretty steady. We've seen just a kind of a normal warm climb year over year. But if you're looking at it in terms of what the population looks like of experience in being able to set the expectations, that's one of the big things that we talked about, right? I mean, with everything going on, things are moving in vastly different ways, and being able to tell clients exactly what's going on with their market, right? Their price point, their community, what they're looking at, their product type. So about 70% of active agents, and this was last month or the month before, so it could change a little bit, but about 70% joined 2020 or after.
Okay, there we go.
2020 or 20?
Sorry.
2012?
2012.
2012.
70% of the agents.
Yeah. So those 70% have never really seen a meaningful, decline or weirdness in the market or shift like that. They've really, that whole time, except for a couple months or a couple quarters, have really seen kind of this nice steady climb, closed sales, prices just kind of easily moving up. On the flip side of that, about 70% of the managing brokers have actually been through some meaningful shift and decline.
That's why they're managing brokers.
Right.
Yeah, they got some experience behind them.
Yes. And so I think it's being able to tap into that and being able to learn from people that have gone through this. How do you come to the table with clients and bringing the appropriate data, bringing the stuff that they need to actually know to be able to set the expectations for where they're going to be in the market.
So what does that tell you a little bit, Shelly? That if I'm going to list my home, I'm just saying the way I would do it. If I'm going to list my home, I want to get an agent that's got a little bit of experience. I mean, Kyle's been in it a long time. Justin's been in it a long time. But I also have to say, for a lot of the agents that are out there, I mean, they got slapped in the face with this market. You know what I mean? They didn't even see the ball coming down the road or the a bowling ball coming right at them because they didn't have any experience in this. So, I got to think, how do these realtors go through this market that we're in right now? How do they learn? How do they get this information so they can do a really good job for their buyers and sellers?
Right, and I just want to say too that that's one thing where you just have to know that we are not in competition with each other as a real estate agent. Reach out to your friends that are in the industry, or
Right.
your
Yeah,
the
literally. Yeah.
Because we've been saying we felt the pivot in the market
Sure.
end of May or something like that. We were like, hey, you're selling over list, but you're getting 7 showings instead of 20. Like
Right.
we were just like really,
Noticeably slowing down.
noticed
Right.
it. Even though the numbers didn't reflect it, like we were just doing enough that we could see the change in the market already.
Right.
Yep.
So the bottom line is, you're right, Shelly. If there's a newcomer that's only been in the market for a year, year and a half, maybe 3 years, 4 years, they can pick up the phone and call any one of you guys.
Absolutely, and I do have a coaching, starting to help coach new agents, especially because there isn't a lot that you know or understand until you go through it. So if you're not
Sure.
going through it and you're not understanding, we can sit down with you on a daily basis, or when you're coming across an issue that you're dealing with, that reach out to people and
I bet
what
you-
did you do when this
Right.
happened? And,
Yep.
we have answers that maybe close to it. No deal is ever the same.
Right, but I bet you everybody sitting here, okay, maybe not Brad because he came from a data center, but I bet everybody here has had some type of mentor, okay, and that they're probably not working with today. So I think it's okay if a real estate agent calls one of you guys up. I mean, they're probably going to want to get on the show too, but the bottom line is, I think that's a compliment.
We're all here.
Yeah.
So Shelly is one of mine, right? Like, so
Right.
I have a ton of resources at Tucker, and I lean on all of them. I have plenty of people to look out and talk to, but I also need other people who are like producing at the same volume, things like that.
Sure.
So what they're seeing, because it's hard if you're selling, and this is because I've been the other guy too, where you're selling 5 or 7 houses in a year versus like 100, right? Like, you still got to have somebody to talk to, right? And like, you need to find somebody who's maybe just slightly above where you
Right.
currently are, because
I
they were
agree.
just there and they can tell you how to get to the next place, and they've gone through and have the experience of changes in the market,
Right.
conversations
Gotcha.
to have, all of that stuff.
Yep.
So I mean, if an agent were to call you up next week,
Yeah,
do they get a pumpkin pie?
next year.
Yeah.
That's a once a year thing, bud.
Yeah,
We're
he
gonna keep
bought
it
one
that
of the
way.
pumpkin pies and gave them out to people for Thanksgiving.
Well, I always want to go back to Michelle Shepard, who helped me. I just always want to say a shout out to her, because when I was new, Michelle put me through the whole process.
Sure.
As a friend, as a coworker. She was a list agent, I was a buyer's agent, and it was a difficult deal. It was probably one of my first 10, and she was so helpful and patient. And here's what she did, back and forth talking to me. And I think everybody needs to do that. The attitude of, you don't know what the heck you're doing, you're screwing
Yeah.
up the deal, is only hurting the client you're working for. Because
And the realtor.
The other side is needing, to go forward just like you are. And every once in a while I hear somebody say we're competing against each other, and I absolutely do not believe that.
Absolutely,
100%.
Okay, Justin, who helped you years ago?
Paul.
Paul who?
I cannot remember his last name to save my life. I swear to God. It's been 17 years.
Super close, though.
Literally,
Super
it's
close.
not. No, I met him on a fluke. He said, "Hey, come interview with my company. I think you're going to be great at this." And met with the company. He gave me 1 day of training, and then kind
Off
of
to the
thrown to the
races.
wolves. It was done a little different back in 2005.
Hey, we got to wrap this show up, okay? And Brad, we would really like to have you on again.
I appreciate it.
Okay, a lot.
Fun.
Okay, but let's wrap this show up. Justin, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, who do you work for, and what's your phone number?
Keller Williams, Indy Metro Northeast, and Custom Container Builders. Phone number 317-507-5599, and the website is fishers.realestate or customcontainerbuilders.com.
My gosh, they're going to be able to find you anywhere.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, and how can we get a hold of you? And your name is?
Kyle Morris. It's Morris Property Group with FC.Tucker, 317-649-5122.
And Shelly Walters. How do they get a hold of you?
You could reach me on my cell phone anytime, 317-201-2601, Shelly Walters Realty Group with EXP.
Brad Coffing, thank you very much from coming in from MIBOR. We certainly appreciate everything that you've done today, and
Thank you
we're
very much.
definitely going to bug you to get you on a few more shows if that's okay with you.
Please do.
Couldn't even get around to every question we had. So much to know.
There is so much to know, but that shows us that we got another show coming.
Tony will validate your parking, by the way.
Yeah, we'll validate your parking. Okay, thanks everybody.